and welcome back to another episode of the Iceberg Theory Podcast. In today's episode, we are going to dive deep into something we often overlook but deeply feel our energy. My guest today is Deepa Mahesh, a leadership coach and a TEDx speaker. In our conversation today, we are going to explore how can you become more aware of your energy and how to show up from a space that feels intentional and authentic. Whether you're a leader, a business owner, or someone juggling multiple things in a day, mastering your energy isn't a luxury, it's your foundation. Enjoy the conversation. Hi, Deepa. Welcome to the Iceberg Theory Podcast. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Neetu, for inviting me. When you said it's iceberg theory, I immediately said yes, because iceberg is such an integral part of my life and everything in my life, including work and personal life, I see it from the lens of the iceberg because it just allows me to like pinpoint where is the breakdown and where is the breakthrough.
So glad you are with us today to have this conversation.
Thank
And
you.
what we are going to deep dive today is in the space of mastering your energy.
Yeah.
And having been following you for a long time now, I understand that all your work revolves around energy and, how do you explore your energy and, create that level of self-awareness. And that is why we call our episode today Mastering Your Energy. We'll start with the first, very basic, most common thing to understand, the tip of the iceberg. What is energy? What is energy according to you?
Yeah. So, when I look at energy, there are two images that come to me. One is the iceberg. The iceberg, because the 10% is the actions, the behavior, the outcomes, the success that you, I, and all the people out there, the leaders or any individual receives. It could be in the area of different areas, could be parenting, it could be outcomes in at work, in entrepreneurship, even accomplishing this podcast is about the iceberg. It's the 10%. But the whole 90%, which is what drives these outcomes, is below the iceberg. And for me, that energy is like a force. It's an underlying force that moves you through these actions, through these leadership outcomes, through these successes, through all of that. So it is information, but you need to learn the art of listening to the information and decoding the information, which
Yeah,
is the why it sounds very esoteric, like mambo jumbo. You don't understand it, but it is so much information that once you learn the art of listening to it, you can master it. You can do whatever you want with it. The second image I have is of a tree. I think for a very long time, a tree has intrigued me. Energy, if I look at tree as a metaphor, then the energy is akin to the roots that you can't see, but that drives the tree.
yeah,
So you people say, oh, energy, it's all, airy fairy. But to me, energy is strategic.
mm,
To me, energy is as strategic as a strategy that an entrepreneur will draw or a business leader will draw to achieve their end outcomes.
yeah,
So it is invisible. You have to pay attention to it. It needs extra work. Just like when you see that the tree is dying, you don't do anything with the tree. You go to the roots. You know the source is a problem. And then you go with the roots. And hence, it's so important for us to delve into it. When I went to Hassan in Karnataka, is when I saw a tree. And, that picture is still so vivid in my mind. I saw it a couple of years ago. I've taken a picture of it. The roots were all on top,
yeah,
and the tree was so widespread. It was all enmesh roots, okay? And if I were to look at energy, because I can't see energy, if I see that root, I'll know how what energy is. So I could literally see the energy on top. That's very
yeah,
unique tree actually. I've never seen a tree like that. I understood that if I had to see energy, then uh, it would look like this,
yeah,
you know. And what do we call? And I'm talking about energy, and you're talking about energy. What is it? What is that force are we talking about? It's about, and I asked this question to myself, and I found its answer in the Taittiriya Upanishad from our, Indian ancient Indian scriptures, where it talks about the panchakoshas, the five levels of existence of a human being. It's got nothing to do with religion, and I'm just clarifying that. I'm just using it as a frame to understand the human being who who is not any human being, any religion has got these levels of existence,
Yeah.
and therefore it has its own energy. For example, the
Mhm.
body. The body is a layer, and the body carries out all the outcomes and tasks that we set for the day, for the month, for the year, and for for whatever time you're going to live. So the body has an energy. The second level of energy is our vitality, is the health of all the organs which is operating by itself, and you only know its presence really when there's a breakdown. When you can't
Yeah.
breathe enough is when you said, "Oh, my breathing is not in balance." When you
Yeah.
have a digestive issue, so many of us have gut issues. When gut issues come up is when you know that it's not operating. So the vitality depends on the vital functioning of these vital organs. That's
Yeah.
the second level, of the body, of our existence. The third level or layer of existence is the emotions. Emotions has its own energy. When I'm angry, it's got its energy. When I'm in love, you know, I have that energy, and the body and vitality helps the emotion, aids with the emotion to carry out that action.
Yeah.
The fourth one is thoughts. Okay, Vijnanamaya Kosha. So the thoughts has its own energy. When I overthink, it drains me, my energy has come down. When I think positive thoughts, when I serve, when I do positive things, I have another kind of energy. And the fifth level of existence is the spirit energy. It's the transcendental energy. It's knowing my purpose, knowing why am I on this earth, knowing my values, having this belief that we all are connected. Like today, Neetu, I don't know you. But today I don't feel like it feels like I'm connected to you at source. The
Yeah.
fifth level of energy is that energy. So all these energies interplay, and you can actually see, you can actually measure, you can actually sense it. And that sensing will give you information. So this energy sense is, you have the five senses. The energy sense is the fifth, is the sixth sense. It is that
Yeah.
sense which, all of this is in order, but there is some other sense which says, no, you should not go there. That's not meant for me. Or this person is not resonant with me. Or this
Yeah.
thing is not for me. This business idea doesn't work for me. So
Yeah.
where do you get that sense? It's when you connect much, 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 much deeper to all these five levels,
Yeah.
is when it becomes pertinent to you for you to see whether I want to go that direction or not. So it's a process, and
Mhm.
it is not only for the spiritual seeker. It's
Yeah.
as much for you or for me or for that business leader or for that mother who is mothering the child and who is a homemaker. It's for the corporate professional who is aiming to go to the next level of, next rung in their career. It's for all of us. In fact, I feel that is the way to have a sustained leadership path, because
Yeah.
I coach and I facilitate, and I feel like you can manage stakeholders when you understand the energy of your stakeholders.
Yeah.
You can manipulate, you can literally get your work done when you know what does the stakeholder, what is their energy. You tap into their energy, speak their energy. It is so easy to influence them.
Yeah. Thank you for breaking that down in such a simple way. Because while you were talking, while you were breaking down those levels of energies, I was just visualizing it. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I could just visualize, and I'm sure anybody listening into this conversation also, we're not talking about energy as just, a loose term.
Yeah.
You've broken that down so well that, one can connect to all the five levels of energies and then understand what is it that is driving them in life.
Yes, exactly. What is driving them and what is making them vulnerable?
Yeah.
Yeah, for example, purpose energy for me, the fifth level of energy drives me. I wake up and I say, yes, one more day, of living my purpose. What is my vulnerability? Emotional energy.
Mm.
So I know that the what is my vulnerable energy and what is my driving energy. So what's my uplifting energy and what's my pulling down energy. And that's the way I always keep the energy in balance. That mastery is about plugging your leaks and increasing your energy givers.
Yeah.
Reducing your energy trainers and increasing your energy givers. Mastering energy is this is the game. And if you treat it as a game and you play it every day with authenticity, I think it becomes so much fun.
Yes.
It's not anymore an esoteric concept which is only for the few.
Mm.
It's a daily process.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you again for sharing that. I'm excited to really explore more about, going under the iceberg about the energy and understanding it. But before we go there, would love to really learn a little bit more about you,
Okay.
your journey. So,
Sure, sure.
when was it that you became of your own energy at a deeper level?
Hmm. I mean, it's very hard to say exactly when, but uh, I always had a deeper sense inside me.
Mm.
The problem was that I wasn't ready to believe it because the how the world functions is how I wanted to function. I wanted to prove, I wanted to be in the race, I wanted to be included. I still remember when I was in my corporate days because I have worked for the Aditya Birla Group for about 10 years and prior to that, many other organizations. So I still remember telling my reporting manager that why am I so different? Why can't I be normal like others? Maybe because I have not studied my HR from XLRI, So I was telling him that why can't I do everything from a thinking perspective? Why do I have to feel so much? Why do I have to intuit so much? So I always felt like a fish out of water, knowing very little that that was the source of my energy, and I didn't know how to acknowledge it because it didn't fit the corporate. It didn't
Mm.
fit that team. But my reporting manager, he was a balanced human being.
Mm.
He knew the world of thinking and he knew the world of emoting. And he knew that what I do, nobody else can do. It's not replicatable because
Yeah.
it is so original and authentic because it comes from a wellspring of abundance
Mm.
and newness and creativity, which is true. But I never felt that is good enough because I had a very deep thing I'm not good enough. And then, of course, in 2012, I kind of hit a rock bottom where I felt burnout. I
Mm.
felt the organization was responsible for it. Of course, now I don't feel that because it was foolish. I had to learn a lesson. After I left, I went into the world of therapy and I studied psychology much deeper. I started learning expressive arts therapy and how to be a therapist. And thereafter, after learning that, I started practicing as a therapist in Bangalore. During that time and in that process of learning is when a lot of healing was happening also because I was also going to a therapist. And I
Mm.
realized that my breakdowns were mostly caused because I was not able to think straight and I was thinking always from emotions. But then, can you believe it that such a 20 years of corporate work experience risen to a good level and being so swayed by emotions felt so unhealthy for me. That
Mm.
is when I started realizing that my God, like we have a very deep inner power that takes us in a direction that takes us away also. And it felt like I was operating from an autopilot or from patterns and not from a design.
Yeah.
So I was not in charge. My vulnerabilities took charge of me. And that is when I started understanding, oh my God, I mean, this is such a revelation. And I
Yes.
observed the same pattern in my clients. I had a very successful therapy practice, loads of clients, etc. And I saw the same thing happening to them. Then there was another inquiry where I have been, that time I was suffering from a psychosomatic illness, which I had contracted at 6.5 is when it came into my body. So I kept thinking, why is it that I have this? And then I realized the connection that because I am not balanced in my emotions and my thoughts,
Mm,
it has got its effect on my skin and my body.
mm,
And that's when I went deeper into the Panchakoshas. And I saw this layered existence, and I saw that emotions and thoughts are subtle, but the body is gross. You can see it. And
yes.
if I have to change and I'm seeing it in my gross, I need to shift my subtle energy, which is the thoughts and emotions. And then deep into different processes, I certified myself in different modalities, applied them on myself, stopped going to the doctor, and I said, I'm going to use arts for my healing. To today, I'm predisposed, but it is not active at all for the last many years now. So, and then I realized that there is a way to heal every illness if we work on the thoughts and emotions, which is working on energy. So there was a time when I went blind in one eye, I couldn't see. I went there, they said you need a surgery. And then I said that I've registered for a retreat, so let me go and come back and then we can plan. I went there, came back, and they did the diagnosis, and then they said, I don't need a surgery. You did something because of which the surgery is not needed. The eye has corrected by itself. So it is so powerful that we can really heal a lot of things inside if we pay attention to the subtle layers, which is the thoughts, the emotions, and our purpose. And
Yeah.
it's the Manomaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and the Anandamaya Kosha in the Panchakoshas. So today, that is my go-to place. Any emotion, like, and then I have practices. Then I realized that I was operating by chance. I wake up today, I want to do this, I'll do this. I want to do that. There was no rhythm. And rhythms always give us security. Imagine the sun says that today I'm very sleepy, I'm going to, rest. What happens to the day? Or the moon does that. So if sun lives rhythmic, I wouldn't say sun is disciplined. So that is the language I shifted. I hate
Mm,
discipline, but I love rhythmic.
mm,
And the impact may be the same. So, how do I speak to myself? How do I coach myself into doing something that is healthy for me? Is what I learned in the process. And then I started living rhythmic. At that time, it felt like discipline. I had an Excel sheet. I'll do this morning, this afternoon, this evening, this night. I had a long list, and I used to do it. Absolutely wake up and do it. Nobody can deter me from that. Two, I realized, okay, from discipline, how to be rhythmic, what is important for me today. Certain
mm,
things are not compromisable.
mm,
Certain things I don't need to be rigid about it.
yeah.
And then that gave me security. Today I have very few practices, but those are my go-to. And if there's a breakdown, I know where to go. So it's all kind of it's a design. I have designed my life.
Yeah.
It is based on energy, but if I have to do something, I really feel it's a strategy. I live very strategic. I used to tell people, I don't understand strategy. But I said that, but I realized that if I operate from this framework of the 5 levels of human existence, I understand energy and I deploy practices to correct it or to enhance it. What else is strategy? This is what organizations do. This is what everybody does. So who else is strategic if not me? So now that narrative also I have changed. And that has opened up so many things for me. I do so many workshops which are hardcore skills, but I do it from an energy perspective.
Yeah.
My perspective is always energy. And it opens people's eyes because they think they've come here for a conflict management skills workshop. But I'm saying when in conflict, look at the opposite person. What are their emotions? What's their body language? What is
Yeah.
their persona? Look at all of that. I'm inviting them to look below the iceberg.
Yeah.
So when they look below the iceberg, the outer will happen anyways. It's an outcome.
Yeah.
For me also, it's a very interesting journey, and today I live in, um, I call this term balance is the new hustle. My organization for in search of balance. This is about 11 and a half, 12 years ago. I didn't get balance for the first 5 years of leaving. It was hustle only. But then, slowly in the last 3 years, I feel like I'm so settled, especially in the last 1 year. I just feel that balance is my hustle. If I work for 4 days, I need time to recover. In a day also, I don't mind canceling a session because I need to recover.
Mm.
From the outer, one would say I'm busy.
Mm.
But that is what others are seeing, the 10%. But inside, how to feel balance is always my pursuit.
Yeah.
And I swear by that.
That's a very insightful journey, I would say, because when you started speaking about the
Mm.
disconnect that you had while in your corporate life, it's so common. You meet so many people who are doing probably at the top of their career, but there's a disconnect. They
Yeah.
feel the disconnect. They can't name it. They can't point it out. Sometimes they blame it on an organization. They sometimes blame it on a boss. I once had a boss who was a micromanager, and he would point out the smallest of things, and that would tick me off. um,
Yes.
Over a period of time, I realized it's not him, it's me. And
Yes.
I had to tap in to understand what is it that I am not exploring about myself, and I'm blaming it on the other person. um,
Absolutely.
and everything that you shared about your journey, I'm sure there's so many people who could relate some bit or the other to it, right? And again, thank you for really giving us, you know, uh, an entry into see what your journey was like.
Thank you.
Because if someone wants to start their journey of exploring their energy, I think this is a good space for them to learn about it.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what I would want you to share. If
Yeah.
someone who is wanting to start off exploring their own energy, what's a simple way to start with?
Be rhythmic. That's the
Mm.
first go-to place. If I have clients, if there's a breakdown, I ask them, what is your rhythm? That is the go-to place. Habits and rhythms, when you understand why you need it and then you install it, that's a go-to place. So
Yeah.
having rhythms is important. The second is carving out some time in your day for silence, for doing nothing. Very
Mm.
difficult. I found it very difficult too. But I realized that the more and more I dipped into silence,
Yeah.
it felt like my container was expanding. My ability to take others' stuff was expanding. My
Yeah.
ability to say upfront, this doesn't work for me and this works for me, started expanding.
Mm.
So silence is another thing that people could explore, and it can just be 2 minute silence. But silence means doing nothing, not
Yeah.
even listening to a podcast or this podcast.
Yeah.
Silence means absolutely doing nothing. You can also, in the silence time, you can even look at the sky because it just allows you to expand. Sky is so expansive, or the horizon.
Yes.
If you're by the beach, looking at the
Yeah.
anything that expands you when you look at it in silence, there's so much that comes, that balances, that grounds you. In Hindi, mein you call it ठहराव.
Yeah.
That kind of stillness is something it's the most yummiest thing for me, for sure, because from that stillness I create so much.
Yeah.
I don't create, it just comes like a
Mm.
downpour of thoughts. That's one thing. The third thing that I would say is um, reflection and self-awareness.
Mm.
Reflecting, taking time out to reflect every day. You can do it by talking to yourself, you can do it by journaling. Like I found journaling very helpful because I am an extrovert, and for me, I clarify when I talk. But the
Mm.
opposite person, I don't, when I talk, I don't want the opposite person to give me any advice. I
Yeah.
just want them to listen. And how many listeners can you get? You will not get listeners.
No.
So I realized that book is my best listener.
Mm.
So then I started writing, and I mean, now I think it's 20 to 23 years that I've been writing. I have journals of my past, I have one cupboard full. I don't feel like parting with them. I know it's quite stupid, but and not that I go back to it and read it also. But I have journals for different things, for different stages of my life during motherhood. I have different journals, and I used to be an avid journaler. Now I journal not as much as before, but because the journaling is happening all the time is how I feel because of the
Mm.
practice. So self reflection, when you journal, you come to become aware of so many aspects of yourself, which you'll be surprised. Oh, is this what I was thinking? I mean,
Mm.
I didn't know that, you know. And there are different kinds of journaling. There is stream of consciousness journaling where you just write what you want. Yeah. Then there are prompt based journaling. Then there is art based journaling. Then there are cards based journaling. You just look at a card, and then based on that, you just write. And whatever is on top of your mind will come. So there are
Yeah.
multiple ways to journal, but sitting and doing it as a practice
Yeah.
is so important.
Yes. Absolutely. And I love the tips that you shared, like spend time with yourself or stay in silence. One of the biggest problems of the world today is we're always occupied. The brain always has something or the other to be busy with. If not nothing, we just pick our phone and start scrolling. How many times do we go back and just say, okay, this 10 minutes, I'm not going to do anything.
Correct. Anything,
Just
yeah.
just stare in nothing
Correct.
you know
Correct.
it reminds me of a time when last year I went on a trek, and I had a bunch of really young kids along with me. We were trekking the Hemkund Sahib, and everybody had their phones with them. And the moment there was a signal, because we were high up there with altitude, um, they would jump with joy to just post something on Instagram or something. But for me, the way I look at treks is I always disconnect. Even if I can connect, I tell my family I'm not available. So I don't switch on my phone at all. And what I realized is it gave me the space of being into nothing. When I was sitting there by that Hemkund Sahib and just staring at the lake, and there was nothing, there was absolutely no thought on my mind. And it's been years I experienced that stage, and I was going through a very rough time personally
Yeah.
for myself where I was trying to figure out a lot of things. When I came back, I came with this energy that I didn't know where this came from. It was just spending that time in nothingness. And
Absolutely.
then when you shared about journaling, sometimes I call it do a brain dump. Just write everything that's coming to your mind, because so much is sitting in your head and occupying the space that it makes you more heavier in your head. When you journal it, put it down, then you realize, like you said, was I really thinking this? Is this really bothering me? Um, so great tips there, Deepa. I think somebody who's really trying to get into the space of understanding their energy. These are some really simple things that they can start with. Yes, we hear about it all the time, but do we really do it? Even for one day, do we really practice it?
Yeah,
So thank
that's
you
true.
for sharing
That's
that.
true. I have seen executives journal when they have to write their goals or actions for the day. Okay, so and that's also a form of journaling. That's called bullet journaling. So for those who are already doing this, treat this as an extension. From the bullet, make it a paragraph.
Yeah,
From the paragraph, make it an essay. And that's how simple it can be.
yeah, wonderful. And I think what it does is it gives you a lot of self awareness. It puts you into that space of getting aware of your own thoughts and creating that space of self awareness. So,
Yeah.
how do you think being self aware, that inner awareness, how does it show up in real life when somebody is aware of themselves?
One of the things, how it shows up is when a situation comes, there is a pause. A situation has come. Instead of jumping to solve it, sort it, to respond and to correct, there is that pause and there is a thought. How do I want to meet this situation? How do I want to respond to it? Otherwise, it's a reaction. So I've
Yeah.
seen that self-aware people um, use this as a practice, as a strategy to meet life. And second is that um, there is a deeper understanding of life.
Mm.
What's making this situation come? Yeah, and not saying that, oh, why me? So from a victim, one can rise to a victor. And that is what I've seen as a difference. And I'm saying that, and self-awareness also is at various levels. Mastery is the highest level, and I think till we go to our grave, self-awareness will never end.
Yeah.
It is a continuous process. But the question is, if there's a breakdown, how fast can I recover? Today, people call it resilience, and there's resilience training. But when there's a breakdown, how fast can I recover? And do I recover with grudge, or do I recover with making peace with it? That is also the difference between a self aware person. So, resilience could be I quickly get up, I'll say, let's move on. So, let's move on. Move on can be a coping strategy, or
Yeah.
let's move on can be a peace. I've made peace, and then some, hence I'm saying. And who will know that? Only that person will know. I coach so many people who say, let's move. They've said, let's move on for many, many, many things, but it's all blocked in their energy. It's all there under the surface.
Yeah.
And one day what happens is, because it's under the surface, it's like you're sitting on a time bomb.
Yeah.
One day that bomb explodes, and they themselves don't know why it exploded, because they didn't know that let's move on is, they've never moved on, they've never dealt with it, they've never made peace with it, they've
Yeah.
only shoved it under the carpet.
True.
So it's like a self-aware person would not just shove things under the carpet, but would accept, and would strive to accept. I have also seen people, like I have open workshops. I have journeys that I do, the 3 months journey, 6 months journey. Most of them are not people who have never done self awareness work, yet they choose. Why do they choose? Because they want to go to those places which they have not touched, and they feel that somebody with a higher consciousness will be able to lead their journey for them. I do that. I go to people. Like, I can say I've mastered it. No, I can never say it. So I do, and I will go to somebody with a higher consciousness to
Mm.
master my energy, to look at what are still vulnerabilities. हिंदी में बोलते हैं चुन चुन के मारना है. So
Yeah.
basically, that way, you want to address that which is not addressed, which is under the carpet, which is in my blind spot, and somebody else will be able to mirror that to me. That is why people come for coaching. People attend workshops. We attend workshops. So a aware person is always in pursuit of mastering their energy.
Yeah. Since we spoke about self awareness, the question that comes to my mind, so do you think when one becomes self aware, they start becoming more honest about who they are? Because, when you mentioned about playing a victim or, feeling that I'm a victim of the circumstances, most people, all of us operate in that space for a very long period of time until we start getting self-aware that, okay, what caused this? What did I contribute to? Right. So would it be right to say that when one becomes self-aware, they also start understanding the energies they are operating out of?
Yeah, self awareness is about understanding the energies we're operating from. Whether they're operating from shrinking energy, or they're operating from expansion energy. But what you asked initially about authenticity, um, the answer is yes. I think because when you stop coping, when you stop operating from coping mechanisms, you have to face the bare truth that I am vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty for most people to accept that. It's like being naked,
Yeah.
and you have to face yourself. It's very difficult. I have so many people who can't face the mirror, who cannot see their beauty, who cannot see themselves. I had this is years ago, it was a corporate workshop. It was for high potential women employees of a white goods company. And we were in the restroom. It was a tea break. We were in the restroom, and one lady, a participant, she comes and tells me, "You, Deepa, you have such beautiful eyes. I can't take my eyes off from your eyes." And I'm looking at her, and you know, she has one of the most beautiful eyes. She herself. She has this cat eyes, beautiful eyelashes, eyebrows as if, carved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked her to just turn and look at the mirror. There was a mirror in the restroom. And then I asked her, Can you look at your eyes and see what do you see?" She told me that, I don't have black eyes. Okay. And one of my nose is crooked. Okay. And I told her to carefully look at my nose. Okay. And I asked her, "Do you see my nose is teda?" It is. In reality, it is. She says, "No, it is perfect. It's like a Devi," she said. This is in Pune. It's like a Devi, she said. So I said that, "What will it take for you to look at yourself in the mirror and exactly say that to yourself?" And she didn't have a crooked nose. And I asked her that. And she had no answer. She it was pitch silence. And I left it at that. So it is so hard to see oneself authentically, even though it is the truth, because we are so used to seeing ourselves from the other's lens and giving our power away to the opposite person.
Yeah.
So the day she wakes up into her greatness, into her beauty, into how she herself is a Devi, yeah, because all of us are, is when she would begin the process of authenticity. And
Yeah.
for me, it has never come easy. I've done so much of ghafla. I have spoken lies. I have manipulated. I've done all of that until it came a day when I said, I can't do it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
tired. And to today, I would say that 99.99% I'm authentic. There is what is inside is outside. If I say something, I'm absolutely truthful about it. I am empathetic, but ruthlessly authentic. I don't take responsibility of how the other person feel, because they are going through their own inner thing. They want to hear in a certain way, and I'm
Yeah.
not responsible for how they want to feel. But there will always be a caveat saying that I am truthful. If it doesn't work for you, let's not engage.
Yeah.
So relationships have to be based on truth. And I've seen it has paid off so much so that my relationships have straightened, my relationship with my children, my family has straightened, and my relationship with myself and my sleep and my rhythms, everything has straightened. I sleep well because I don't have to worry about anything I said or didn't say. So, yes, self awareness and authenticity are closely connected.
When you spoke about that when you say something to someone while you are empathetic but you're not responsible for how they perceive it, it brings the thought to me that do you think energy is so the way they would perceive what you said, so they're operating out of a certain energy. Now, do you think that energy is connected to any of their past experiences? Is it coming from some wounds, emotional wounds, or something that they are suffering from within and that's impacting their energy?
Of course, the roots are there. The roots are in childhood. And the roots are in the wounds. The roots are also in the victories you have gained, in the past. So, a belief is a rehearsed thought. So
Mm,
it's a thought that you have nurtured. It's like one thought was a seed,
mm,
and then similar situation happens, and then that seed is watered. It's watered. It roots and then grows into a tree. So, for example, I am not good enough. Especially in my career time, I was so bloody good.
mm,
Like somebody can't imagine that I would have it. Where did it come from? It came from my childhood. I heard that because I was not a great student, in my childhood. And when you're a child, all that matters is studies. I was a singer, I was a dancer, but never excelled.
mm,
So the opposite person would always say it's not an excellent, dancer or a singer. But I always like to sing for joy, but never to perform or to show. That was who I was. So because of that, and since I was not allowed to be me, and so I had this inferiority complex of I'm not good. So uska coping mechanism, what is it? I'll always strive to prove. And if I can't prove, I'll go back to my shell which says I'm not good enough. And that drains energy. I have lived like that for years. And all the time I've excelled. Okay, now I'm excelling, but I'm having this belief I'm not good enough. Imagine the kind of effort I'm putting to
Yes.
go beyond my belief.
Yeah.
And therefore, uh, and that is what I could relate to when I did something called the biography work.
Mm.
So, psychology uses many models to understand our developmental journey and to correct it. But what it never gave me as a frame to reflect on was the presence of why is it that I got an illness at 6 years?
Mm.
That time it was I was a happy go lucky child. What happened to that? And then I realized that maybe there is karmic influence.
Yeah.
And therefore to know that I wanted to solve that mystery. And then I went into karma. I went into biography work, which is by Dr. Rudolf Steiner. And it was a deep study of your life year by year. There are mirroring patterns, there are patterns that happen at every. It's similar to psychology, but it gives you more than psychology. It gives you karma, it gives you planetary influence, but it's not astrology, it can't predict. So when I studied that, and I did a 3 year certification in that because I wanted to get answers. At the end, I mean, so many of my inauthenticities fell off, and I got an understanding of how can I work on my illness. It is karmic. It is coming from there. It is hereditary also. There is a lineage also who has that. But I can take charge and stop this. Yeah, and I have passed it on to my children also. But if I stop it, there is a high possibility that it will not pass forward.
Yeah.
So I took responsibility. So everything actually what we are today, how we think, how we respond, how automatic thoughts come, how automatic emotions are felt, is a reflection of our experiences in our childhood. And therefore there is a when I was listening, I did also a 6 months course on Ayurveda because I wanted to understand that perspective. Because it's a inside out perspective, it's a whole human perspective. And for me, whole human is very, very important. That is what the koshas are also. So when I look at the whole human perspective, from the Ayurveda perspective, when I studied, I understood that uh, there are three practices that I can install, and I do that. And I can share that with you. The first one is I call it, I mean, because that the one who the Ayurveda doctor talked about it in this language. She said Deha Darshanam is very important. Okay, Deha is body and Darshanam is witnessing. So every morning when I wake up, I do Deha Darshanam. And I ask myself, how am I feeling in my body? What sensations am I becoming aware of? So what happens is it's like a quick check-in. What's the state of my body? I'll have pains, I'll have aches, I'll have grogginess, I'll have like even right now I have sensations, going on here. Now, by doing that, I'm actually checking in. And I'm aware of the current state at every point of time. So this I started doing. The second thing that I started doing was in the at the level of emotions, which is bhava darshana. What am I feeling right now? And I used the emotions wheel that is available online because our emotions vocabulary can be very limited. But I wanted to expand it and see what specifically I feel. So I've been using that, and that is about naming my feeling. It's about really feeling and acknowledging. And there's a lot of acceptance. Ki, okay, right now I'm angry. When I know I'm angry, the next thought or the question I ask myself is, what is my need not met, which is why I'm angry. So
Mm.
then the process, then there is a processing, but just naming is also enough. if you don't know how to do the process. And if you don't know how to do a process, either go to a therapist or a coach or anybody who will do it with you so that you learn the process. And we don't learn it, and therefore we don't know how to do it. So bhava deha darshanam is the body witnessing, bhava darshanam is the emotions witnessing, and the third is the thoughts witnessing or the awareness witnessing, which is called the chetana darshanam, which is a simple question, which is, what am I becoming aware of at this point in time? Yeah. So, like when I shared about my life, I became aware at that time that uh, when I talk about my journey, I feel strong. And I've always felt it, which is why I say yes to a podcast. Any podcast, I say yes. Because it's my opportunity to be in touch with my own Chetana.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, everybody benefits.
Yeah.
Everyone who's listening benefits. So these three practices have really, really helped me. And these are my go-to places: body, emotions, thoughts. And I feel with these three, I have been able to ground.
Mm.
Otherwise, when I'm thrown by emotions, there is no ground. And not grounding means no balance. I cannot
Yeah.
stand straight. So these are my grounding practices for which, I'm able to transcend what my childhood, etc., offered me, and
Yeah.
I'm no more behaving as per that. And I have been able to transform those childhood patterns into the patterns that I want to evolve into now. That's what I live.
Those are very insightful tips, Deepa. Thank you for sharing those with us because when you mentioned, those three things, what are you feeling in your body? What are your emotions like? And what are your thoughts like? That's exactly what makes us, right? The body, mind, and the soul, the thoughts. Um, and once you are aware, at least you start with that little honest step of being aware and noting that down or recognizing, acknowledging it. That gives you a beautiful start to the day. And, because you start with awareness, you're not hiding it away under, an assumption that no, there's nothing. Because a lot of us live in assumptions or live in, denial that, no, I'm not feeling anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you do an authentic,
Yeah.
activity to be more honest to yourself,
Yes.
understand what's happening in your body, what do you feel in your body, in your emotion, in your thoughts. And I think that's something everybody, irrespective of whether they are working, not working, whatever age group they are at, it's a beautiful start to a day, a ritual that they could bring in. And that's where self awareness starts with. And thank you really for sharing that. It was amazing to hear from you all the insights that you have shared. Tapping into what energy is all about. How do you learn about your own energy? And what can you do to bring self-awareness and so much more. Uh, Again, this, like you said, this topic is more like an ocean, a sea. This, we can't cover it within an hour, and there's so much more we could talk about. I would really wish we have another discussion somewhere, down the line after a few months, going more deeper. But today, what we want to leave the listeners with is, how do you tap into your own energy, learn about your own energy, and create their self awareness. So, we are still at the tip of the iceberg talking about energy today, but I'm so glad we did this, and I'm very, very thankful for you. Is there anything that you want to share before we close this conversation today?
Your energy is precious. So uh, learn to honor it.
Yeah.
And every word you speak is energy. Every action you do is energy. Every emotion you feel is energy. Learn to learn to see it, feel it, listen to the message from it. And then life and leadership and everything else can really be effortless and very rewarding also. There will be a joy of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish that for each and every human being, actually.
Thank you so much, Deepa. I'm sure everybody who's listened to this conversation today is going to, implement a lot and benefit as well. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your story, and love to have you in the podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
And that's a wrap on today's episode, Mastering Your Energy. I hope it gave you a moment to pause, reflect, and reconnect with the energy you bring every day into your life. As Deepa mentioned, energy is your asset. When you tap into your own energy and bring in self awareness, that's where the real shift begins. If this episode resonated with you, share with someone who would need it too. Until next time, stay grounded, stay intentional, and protect your light. This is Neetu signing off from the Iceberg Theory Podcast.